Alright guys, today I have a pretty commonly requested video, and that's not what was supposed to happen. This is how I make my 3D printed shells. I'm not going to show you how I 3D print these because I just tell my printer to do it and it prints it, but basically it's two half spheres and then one of them has the lift cup, and then you can see like it has a little puzzle piece. I don't really know what to call it, but you can see they just lock in. And yes, I did design these. If you want the STL files, just ask me and I'll probably send them to you. But yeah, that's pretty much what it is, and I'll show you. I'm going to be building it right now actually, and this is gonna be made with my homemade stars actually. So you guys haven't seen these yet. Well, actually this is the second batch. You guys have seen them before, but this is a new batch. And my black powder this time is homemade obviously, and it actually burns a lot quicker, so I don't really know if it's gonna have as much hang time as my old ones. I still have a few of my old ones left, but I have some regular stars, right, and they're about this size, pretty big actually, so that's why I can't fit too many in a shell. But in these ones you have I bet you guys can see that the little metal in there, those are magnesium clippings, and these should burn very bright, so that's what I'm hoping. So basically I'm just gonna start loading them up, and then you don't want to load it up too much because then you'll have troubles getting the shell closed, and that really is annoying when that happens. But I'm gonna put mainly these stars. I don't have very many of them though, so I don't know how many those are, but those have magnesium in them, and then I also have some without them. Now this, I'm gonna probably make a comet single shot. You guys will see that eventually, but I'm just gonna take a few of these and plop them in there. I made a few size variations this time. They're not all like as big as they were the last batch. I made some bigger ones, made some smaller ones, so I don't know, guess we'll just have to see. And I would make like more of these stars at once, but it's extremely time consuming. You have to take your time, and takes a lot of, well, it's not necessarily like a thing you have to be careful with, because to make the stars you actually have to soak them, or you don't have to soak them, but you have to make them wet, them powder wet with, I use about half and half of water and alcohol, like 70% isopropyl alcohol. So yeah, then you pretty much get it wet, and you have to add dextrin, which is another chemical. It's very easy to make. You can make it with cornstarch. You just have to bake cornstarch, so it's a super easy thing to make. But yeah, so I pretty much have the stars in here now. Now all I have to do is put the powder in there, and then I don't know how much. I'm just gonna keep adding until it's about as full as I want it. This is about 2 grams right here, and I'm gonna add this, and it's not gonna be quite enough because I don't want to add too much to break the stars apart. But these ones this time are actually they are a lot harder than my older ones, so I'm just gonna keep adding. I have some more. This stuff is really light. This isn't flash though, it's black powder, even though it's not black, it's like gray. But and these shells, since there's like a lot of oddly shaped things, there's gonna be quite a lot of space in the shell, so you can hear the stars rattling around, but it doesn't do anything bad to it. So this is probably gonna be as much powder I'm gonna put in here. It's probably 4 or 5 grams maybe, and I don't want too much. Like, I'm not looking for a bang here because I don't want the stars to break up. But I just took apart one of the white knights, and I have some strobe stars right here. I'll add a few of those in there to the mix. Alright, so now we got some strobe in there, And yeah, these are actually pretty empty. I would add more powder, but I want to use it for other things. I'm gonna add a few more stars. This should be a very pretty shell, actually, if it goes as planned, with strobe and then the tiger tail comet stars. That's probably what I'm going to call them. They're not quite willows because they're kind of big. Probably not meant for a 175-inch shell, maybe a 3-incher, but I haven't made anything bigger than this. I don't know if I want to take on anything bigger than that, because then it just gets, you know, kind of iffy. But then I just take like a thin piece of cloth. I just use not toilet paper. You could use toilet paper. I just use Kleenex, just Kleenexes. And sometimes you can like separate the 2 layers to make it even thinner, but I don't think that'll be a problem. Then what I do is I don't really have very much super glue left, which might be a problem actually. But I take the bottom, I kind of make the cloth on top as tight as I can. I think that'll be good there. And then I just add some super glue along the edges. And if you guys have been on my channel since the 4th, I'm sure you've seen some of my homemade shells, and most of them have worked. I've only had like 1 or 2 that haven't worked. One of them I didn't upload, but you guys have seen the other one. Yeah, pretty much just line the edges with super glue. And then I take the other one, being very careful because I don't want to spill it. I've done that many times before and it sucks. But you just take it, put it on the edge here, close the shell, make sure all the edges are sealed. I believe they're all closed, so then I just rip away the Kleenex, and then pretty much there's your shell. I mean, that's how I close it and that's how I load it. And then I usually take some more super glue and put it along the edges. I don't have very much here at all. I ran out of my big bottle that I had, but I pretty much just line the edges with a little super glue. And then I'm not going to show putting the lift in here because, I don't know, I just don't want to do that right now. Actually, you know what, I'll do that. Well, no, because I don't have a way to close the shell. The way I do that, I close the lift cup, is I just tape it. I use electrical tape, and it works just fine. I don't put like a cardboard disc or anything. It's not really a necessity. There's no reason to. Yeah, basically that's all there is to it. And then you have, once all the glue dries, you have a very solid shell. And the amount of lift I put in it, I've got it right here. I do 1/10 of the shell's weight, or mass, I guess. I use grams, but yeah, so if it's usually with smaller shells, like if it's 50 grams, I might use a little more than 5 grams, but yeah. And then usually once you get up higher, like if it's 160, I'd only use like 10, you know, like a normal 60 gram can. But yeah, that's all there is to it. And then I just take a fuse. This fly is driving me nuts. Stick it in there, and then, you know, just tape it, and then there you go. There's your shell. So that is how I make my shells, and it's the same concept for my 1-inchers. And I'll do maybe a cylinder shell sometime, and I'll show you guys how I do those. Pretty much the same thing. Yeah, I might show you guys here soon. But yeah, that is how I make my 3D printed shells. Now I'm recording this because I forgot to tell you afterwards, but for the time fuse, I just stick a regular visco fuse in there, and I'm going to shorten it because some of my shells have been coming down and going off a little bit too late. So yeah, I just cut it diagonally so some of the powder shows. But yeah, that is how I do it, and I'll probably show you guys once it's finished as well. So I have the lift and everything in here, and it's super simple, and this is what it looks like when it's done. Like I said, I just tape the bottom, and then I just tape the fuse all the way up. And yeah, sometimes I decorate them. Like if it's a special shell, I will I'll put some tin foil wrapped around it. But this one, pretty simple, just all black look, I guess. And then it comes out to about 49 grams, so nearly 50. So yeah, that is how I make these shells. And I should mention that do this at your own risk. I know both with safety, and I don't know what your laws are where you live, but I know it's super fun. Just make sure you're being safe and careful when you're doing this stuff, because you don't want to lose your hands or part of your body or even your life, because it's not worth it for one little shell. But yeah, just be careful out there, and I will see you guys later.